The cabin was silent. Every passenger held their breath as the flight attendant's hand cracked across Amara's cheek, the young mother clutching her baby to her chest. Gasps filled the air. A woman screamed. The baby wailed. And in the dead silence that followed, Amara's trembling voice broke through. You, you struck me? While I'm holding my child? The flight attendant sneered, brushing her hands on her uniform as if nothing happened. Yes, and what's anyone going to do about it? People like you don't belong in first class anyway. But what she didn't know was that the man watching from across the cabin, face tightening with quiet fury, wasn't just Amara's husband. He was the CEO, and he owned the very airline she worked for. Before we dive deep into the story, kindly let us know where you were watching from. Rewind a few hours earlier. Amara Daniels, a graceful black woman in her early 30s, boarded the luxury flight with her newborn daughter. Her husband, Jonathan Daniels, had insisted on first-class tickets so Amara could travel in comfort while he finished business abroad and joined them later. But from the moment Amara stepped into first class, whispers followed her. Some passengers eyed her with disdain as though she didn't belong. And worst of all, the flight attendant, a tall, sharp-featured woman named Claire, treated her with thinly veiled contempt. From refusing her help to forgetting her water, Claire made it clear. In her eyes, Amara was an intruder in this world of privilege. It began small. A rolled eye when Amara requested a blanket for her baby. A scoff when she asked if the bassinet could be secured properly. But as the hours dragged on, Claire's hostility grew bolder. Passengers watched as she leaned down and hissed, "Maybe next time, sit and coach. That's where people like you usually are." Some looked away. Others muttered in discomfort, but no one intervened. Until it happened. Amara had gently pressed the call button, her baby fussing, milk bottle slipping from her bag, when Claire stormed over, face twisted in irritation. "You again? You think you can keep snapping your fingers and I'll come running?" Amara, tired but composed, whispered, "Please, I'm just trying to feed my baby." And that was when Claire's patience snapped. The slap came so suddenly, so violently, that for a second the entire cabin froze in disbelief. Amara staggered, clutching her child tightly, shielding her from the blow. The sound of the strike echoed through the aisle. A baby's cry pierced the silence. A gasp rippled across the cabin, phones lifted into the air, passengers recording. Claire straightened her uniform, her voice icy. "Keep quiet. You're disturbing the other passengers." Amara's cheek burned. Her heart raced, tears welled in her eyes, but she stood tall, rocking her baby in her arms, refusing to collapse in humiliation. What Claire, and everyone else, didn't know was that Jonathan Daniels had boarded early unseen, choosing to sit quietly in the back of first class after cutting his business meeting short. He had watched everything, every insult, every blow. And now, his silence was about to end. The slap was not just an insult, it was a spark, one that would ignite a fire so big it would shake the airline to its core. Because the woman Claire thought she could demean was the wife of the man who signed her paycheck. And by the time the truth was revealed, the world would never forget. What do you think Jonathan should do next? Fire her on the spot, or let her humiliation play out in front of the entire cabin? Comment your thoughts below.
The sound of the slap still echoed in the cabin. Amara, holding her baby tightly, stood frozen with tears brimming in her eyes. Passengers whispered. Phones were out, recording every second. And from the back of first class, a man in a sharp navy suit rose slowly to his feet. His eyes burned with controlled fury. Jonathan Daniels, the CEO, the husband. The moment everyone had been waiting for was about to unfold. Jonathan walked down the aisle with quiet authority, the kind of presence that silenced even the softest murmurs. Passengers leaned closer. The air was thick with suspense. When Jonathan reached Amara, he gently touched her hand, steadying her trembling fingers as she clutched the baby. His voice was soft but carried weight. "I'm here, love. I saw everything." Claire's expression flickered. Confusion, then annoyance. "Sir, please return to your seat. This passenger was being disruptive." Jonathan's voice cut through like a blade. Disruptive. She is my wife. Gasps erupted through the cabin. Claire's smug confidence faltered, her face paling as the reality began to sink in. Jonathan straightened, his voice calm but commanding. You slapped the mother of my child while she held our baby, and you dared to tell her she didn't belong here. Claire stammered, her mask cracking. Sir, I didn't know. Jonathan's eyes hardened. You didn't care to know. You judged her. You humiliated her, and you thought no one would hold you accountable. The entire cabin was silent, every passenger watching justice unfold before their eyes. A man in row 3 muttered, "About time." Someone else whispered, "She deserves this." Claire's breathing grew shallow, panic creeping in. Jonathan took out his phone, snapping a picture of Claire where she stood, trembling now. Consider this your last day wearing that uniform. You're finished here. Claire gasped, stepping forward. Sir, please, I've worked here for 10 years. I didn't mean... Jonathan raised a hand, silencing her. For 10 years, how many others have you mistreated? How many passengers left this plane humiliated because you thought your badge gave you power? Today, it ends. His voice carried through the cabin. Applause broke out. Some passengers clapped openly, others shouted, "Yes!" and "Finally!" Claire's face crumbled, humiliation written across every feature. She stumbled back, cornered by the weight of her own cruelty now exposed. Claire had believed she was untouchable, that Amara was powerless, but the irony was brutal. The woman she had insulted was married to the very man who controlled her fate. Jonathan wrapped an arm around Amara, kissing her forehead gently as their baby quieted in her arms. You will never be treated this way again, not while I'm here. It was a raw moment of justice. The tables had turned. But this was only the beginning. The video of that slap and Jonathan's fiery confrontation was already spreading through the plane, through passengers' phones, and soon, across the entire world. And what came next would not just destroy Claire's career, but shake the airline industry to its core. What do you think should happen when this story goes viral? Should Jonathan make an example of the airline publicly, or deal with it quietly behind the scenes? Comment your thoughts.
The slap, the confrontation, Jonathan's thunderous words. Passengers didn't just watch, they recorded. And within minutes, before the plane even touched down, clips of the shocking moment were already hitting the internet. Little did Claire, or the airline, know this wasn't just a passenger complaint. It was about to become a global firestorm. Phones buzzed, notifications poured in. Flight attendant slaps black mother holding baby, the headline blared across social media. Millions of views in hours, hashtags trending worldwide, outrage spreading like wildfire. Some clips showed the slap itself. Others focused on Jonathan's calm, commanding rebuke. You slapped the mother of my child while she held our baby. People shared, commented, argued. One passenger's post read, "This man stood up for his wife with so much grace. Whoever he is, respect." Another wrote, "That flight attendant should never be allowed near passengers again." And then, someone uncovered Jonathan Daniels' identity. Not just a passenger, not just a husband, the billionaire CEO who owned the airline. The irony struck like lightning. The world gasped. News anchors replayed the clip in primetime slots. Talk shows debated the incident. Activists demanded accountability, calling the slap not just an act of rudeness, but a symbol of deeper prejudice. Shareholders of the airline were furious. Customers threatened boycotts. On Twitter, one viral comment read, "Imagine slapping the CEO's wife on the airline he owns. Career suicide." Claire's name leaked. Photos of her surfaced online. She was no longer just a flight attendant. She was the flight attendant who slapped a mother holding her baby. Her face became a symbol of arrogance and abuse of power. Behind closed doors, chaos erupted in the airline's headquarters. The boardroom was filled with panicked executives, pacing, sweating, barking orders at PR teams. "We need a statement, immediately. Distance ourselves from her actions. This is destroying our stock price." But then, the realization dawned on them. This wasn't just about a rogue flight attendant. It was personal. Because the man she humiliated wasn't just a customer. He was their boss. And now Jonathan Daniels had the power not only to fire Claire, but to reshape the entire airline with one decision. Oddly enough, Jonathan stayed silent in the days after the video went viral. No tweets, no press conferences, no interviews. Reporters camped outside his estate. Journalists begged for a statement. But Jonathan said nothing. His silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Because while the world demanded answers, Jonathan was preparing his move. A move that would not just deal with Claire, but expose the airline's deeper failures. The flight attendant thought the worst was over when Jonathan confronted her on the plane. But in truth, that was only the beginning. Because Jonathan Daniels was about to unleash a decision so bold, so devastating, that it would shake the entire airline industry to its core. Do you think Jonathan should fire just the flight attendant, or use this moment to completely reform the airline? Drop your thoughts below.
The world was watching. The clip had gone viral. The airline was in chaos. And yet, Jonathan Daniels, billionaire CEO, husband, and father, had remained completely silent until today. Because Jonathan wasn't just about to punish a flight attendant. He was about to send a message that would echo across the entire airline industry. Flashbulbs, cameras, a hall packed with reporters. Jonathan Daniels stepped up to the podium, calm, collected. His wife and baby seated proudly in the front row. The room went silent. He took a deep breath and began. "A few days ago, my wife, the mother of my child, was slapped by someone wearing this airline's uniform, not just in an act of disrespect, but in an act of prejudice." The crowd shifted. Pens scribbled furiously, cameras zoomed in. This is not about one woman's arrogance. This is about a culture that thinks wealth or power gives you the right to humiliate others. That ends today. Jonathan's voice hardened. Effective immediately, that flight attendant's contract is terminated. But this goes beyond her. Every single staff member in this airline will undergo mandatory respect and sensitivity training. Zero tolerance for anyone. Gasps rippled across the room, but Jonathan wasn't finished. "And one more thing. I will personally fund an independent watchdog committee, one that reports directly to the public, to ensure airlines worldwide treat every passenger, no matter their race, class, or background, with dignity." The hall erupted in applause. Reporters shouted questions. Some were stunned, others were teary-eyed. But Jonathan stood firm. Then Jonathan leaned forward, his voice softer but even more powerful. "My wife is not just my wife. She is a human being, a mother, a woman of dignity, and no one, not even someone wearing this airline's badge, has the right to strike her down." His wife wiped a tear. The baby cooed softly, almost as if sensing the weight of his father's words. The world had just witnessed a man turn his pain into justice. Within hours, the announcement spread across every news outlet. Headlines blared. Billionaire CEO fires attendant, launches industry reform. Jonathan Daniels turns viral scandal into global change. The airline stock soared back up, not because of damage control, but because of Jonathan's leadership. And Claire? She vanished from public view. Her arrogance had cost her everything. But for millions of passengers worldwide, Jonathan's stand meant something bigger. Their dignity finally mattered. The flight attendant thought she could get away with humiliating someone she underestimated. But in a twist of irony, she slapped the wrong woman, the wife of the man who owned it all. And Jonathan proved a powerful truth. When injustice strikes, real power isn't in retaliation. It's in using your voice to change the system. What do you think of Jonathan's decision? Was firing her enough, or should he have gone further? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and remember, sometimes the tables turn in ways no one sees coming.